Hello, this is Dr. Janet Hall, and I'm a sex therapist and clinical psychologist, and I wrote this book here called Sex Life Solutions. So I know a lot about sexual problems and what might happen to people, and I wanted to talk to you today about a phenomenon that I see time and time again that I call good girl-itis. So it's about women who basically have been brought up to be good girls, and they've been taught that, you know, you don't have sex till you're married, or that if you were to have sex with more than one guy, you might be in the running to be called a slut, and nice girls wouldn't do that. And, you know, there's a real double standard to that, isn't there? For instance, you ask a man what a man that has a lot of sex would be called, and he'd be called a Don Juan, or a stud, or macho, or a gigolo. But if a woman's sexually active, she's called a whore, a slut, the town bike, or a harlot. But if a woman's not interested in sex, she might be called frigid or cold. But when a man's not interested in sex, he's called female put-down names like a wimp, or a pussycat, or a queen. So some of the girls with good girl-itis actually are not that fair to their man, because they start off, I call it trying to catch their bus, and because they want to catch the bus, they want to get the man interested, they want to partner up, want to have his children and be his wife partner. They all turn on the sex when they're young, but once they've had their first child or several children, they basically say, you know what, I wouldn't care if I never had sex again. And these guys come in to see me for sex therapy, and they say, Dr. Jan, where did my sex siren go? And I say, well, it's not fair, is it? But when I ask them more specific questions like, does she have an orgasm, or does she masturbate, these guys don't know. I find that a little bit concerning, that they've never really even asked their partner whether or not they like to go solo sex, that is masturbate, and whether they can have an orgasm that way. So it's a real shame, this good girl-itis, and it's mostly with older generation, women, let's say over the age of 40, whereas younger women, Gen XY, particularly more so the Y now, can be totally the other way round. It's like not cool if you're still a virgin, and some girls will come to see me at 25. These are usually girls who still live with their parents and have a very strong ethnic upbringing where you're not supposed to have sex until you get married. And these girls are saying, you know, I'm still a virgin, I can't meet anybody that I fancy, and what am I to do? But they're the rare ones, because mostly I'll get some young girls coming in who say, I want to learn to have an orgasm. Now, one girl in particular I want to tell you about. She was a very pretty young girl, studying to be a psychologist actually. I said she's like a little elf out of the Lord of the Rings. Anyway, she said that she wanted to have an orgasm with a guy. She could have an orgasm with masturbation. In fact, she was really cute. She said, when I asked her how did she know she was finished, she said, I always have 3 orgasms, so I masturbate 3 times. She said, why stop at 1? So you can tell that she didn't have good girl-itis, but she'd never been able to have an orgasm with a man. And when I asked her, tell me about, you know, the kinds of partners and boyfriends that you've had, she said, surprisingly, I've never actually had a full-time boyfriend. And I said, well, what happens? She said, well, every Friday and Saturday night you go to the pub or to a club and you pick up, and usually you're both drunk, even quite pissed, and so you just hook up, have sex, and you don't even necessarily know who it was the next day. Well, I said to her, how on earth are you ever going to have an orgasm with a guy when you're in that situation? You're drunk, he's drunk. There's no commitment, there is no intimacy, there is no beautiful connection. And that's very much a part of it. So where are we to go with all of this? The young girls have to pull back a bit, I think, learn to respect themselves and wait for Mr. Right, and really be that package that can be unwrapped. And you older girls who were taught that it's not nice to be sexy, time that you just let go of that. That was really, really negative brainwashing, and you can step up and be the sex goddess that you deserve to be.